I made so much more money as a crypto investor after I stopped looking at the price charts and focused on the fundamentals instead. But honestly, very few crypto investors do fundamental analysis properly in my opinion. So in this video, I want to share with you what I look for when evaluating a project's fundamentals and my secret sauce that ties it all together. So if you're wanting to improve as a crypto investor, then this video is for you. Strap in my friend and let's roll the intro. First, what is fundamental analysis anyways? Well, in the stocks world, it is using things like financial statements and various models to come up with a fair value for a company. Many value investors like Warren Buffett use fundamentals to decide which stocks to buy. But in the crypto world, things are a little different. We don't have things like financial statements or frameworks like discounted cash flow to evaluate projects with. But we can definitely evaluate them on a more holistic basis though, by looking at things like network activity, underlying value proposition, or even their trading volume. It's things like that which form the fundamentals for any given project. But let's be real, there are over 7,000 cryptocurrencies out there these days, and the vast majority of them are worthless and headed to zero. That's not hater talk either, it's just being realistic. Look at all the forks, vaporware, and outright scams out there. And that's why analyzing the fundamentals is so crucial for us, because it can help us identify the coins that actually have some value. And if we invest in those, it's much more likely that we'll be profitable compared to our YOLO bets, which may or may not hit if we're lucky. Alright, so we all agree that fundamentals are important, right? But what if I told you that there's not one perfect framework for all of us to use? In fact, you should probably craft your own and then tweak it over time based on your own experience. Over my 4 years in the crypto world, I've created a 10-part framework for researching fundamentals. Let's run through each part to see what I'm looking for and why it's important. First, I like to start super high level and look at the overall value proposition. Like, what is this project's reason for existence? I look at the problem they're trying to solve and see if it's actually a worthy problem. And then I ask if they really need crypto or blockchain to achieve their goal. Assuming I'm satisfied with those answers, then I move on to the next part, which is the second thing I look for, the team. Honestly, this is one of the most important things we need to evaluate, because a good team can always iterate or pivot their project into something better. But a bad team may call it quits or just not care about their investors at all. I look at the team's experience and their track record to determine how high quality they are. I also look at who is supporting, advising, and backing them. And then I look at how approachable and open they are to their community, which means I generally do not like projects with anonymous teams. It's too easy to rug pull us that way. Next up, the third aspect I evaluate is the technology. There's a lot of stuff here, but I like to see if their tech is a good fit for what they're actually trying to build, and whether they are truly innovating in some way or just copying and pasting from other projects. And finally, I just want them to be constantly improving their tech and upgrading their code base, not just writing it once and that's it. Alright, my fourth pillar would be tokenomics, and this has to do with things like the token supply and monetary policy. I look to see if there's a maximum cap or if it inflates forever. And if it does inflate, how does that rate change over time? Tokenomics also has to do with their token utility. Like, what is the role of the token in its ecosystem? Are stakeholders actually incentivized to hold/use it? And finally, I look at the token distribution, aka how much is owned by insiders or whales, or was it spread pretty widely through a fair launch? As I mentioned in my tokenomics video, this stuff can literally make or break a project even if they did everything else right. Now, before we get onto my number 5, I want to give a quick shout out to our longtime channel sponsors, Crypto.com. If you haven't signed up to use them yet, you definitely should. They have one of the widest selections of coins that I've seen, and you can use their crypto debit card to buy stuff anywhere that accepts Visa too. If you'd like to try them out, please use my link down below for a $25 sign-up bonus, and watch my Crypto.com tips video as well to learn how to use their products like a pro. Alright, back to number 5, which is usage and adoption. Of course, this would be for the projects that have already launched, but I would look for how many daily users they have and how many total transactions are they sending. Then I'd look at the dollar amount of value that's flowing through the protocol or app and see how much of that is being captured by fees. Finally, if they are a platform, I'd look for how many teams are actively building on top of them. Generally speaking, the more the better for these types of metrics because they point to actual demand. Next up, my sixth pillar for fundamentals is sentiment. Basically, this just means what people think or feel about this project. You can look at social media chatter for this, or go into their communities and see what everyone is talking about. Of course, we want this to be generally positive because that leads to more word-of-mouth growth for the project. As for number 7, I kind of mentioned this already, but it's the community. AKA, do they have a legit community that actually cares about the project and remains engaged over time? This is actually quite rare because many projects attract all the wrong people, like the short-term flippers who leave as soon as things get hard. But a good community is super powerful because they can help the team out in many different ways, and you don't even need to pay them anything. Some of these communities get so strong that they even form cults, aka XRP Army, Link Marines, or things like that. Like them or not, you can't deny that they are a huge asset for their project. Okay, the 8th thing that I evaluate is partnerships, aka which other companies or projects are they collaborating with? And what is the nature of those partnerships? Are they legitimate and will actually help the project grow? Or is it just fluff meant to trick investors to pump the token price? We see so many projects announce amazing partnerships that turn out to just be a pilot program that goes nowhere. Ideally, we want partnerships that can bring a real increase in adoption and demand for the token. Alright, number 9 is competitors. This is simple, right? Pretty much just look at the other projects this one is competing with and get a feel for how you think they stack up and how much market share each one can grab in the future. Last but not least, number 10 is regulation. Basically, I just try to see how likely it is for regulators to come in and punish a project. Because in our Wild West world of crypto, that's always something that projects have to worry about. But some, of course, have way higher risk than others, depending on their niche and their specific approach. So I just try to gauge that and manage my investment accordingly. Alright, so that's my comprehensive framework that I use all the time. But you may be wondering, where do I even find all of those details anyways? Well, there's good news for you because there are many resources and websites that can help. Like Masari's project profiles have a ton of details about the fundamentals. Binance research reports are also great, but they don't have it for every project. Lunar Crush and Santiment are tailor-made for social media stats and sentiment analysis. CryptoPanic is good for finding the latest news and buzz about a project. CoinGecko also has a lot of useful stats as well. And CoinMarketCal has useful dates like upcoming big milestones on a project's roadmaps. And finally, CryptoMiso has details about a project's codebase, like the number of GitHub commits, etc. I'm sure there are more you can utilize, but those are just some of the ones that I like to use. By now, you are armed with my trusted framework and several tools to use for research. But even that was not enough, at least for me. I really needed to make an explicit mindset change to tie it all together. Basically, I was like, okay, I did a lot of research and I'm confident about my pick, so I'm gonna buy it with high conviction. I won't worry about the short-term volatility, and I won't try to get in at the absolute best price. Because my time horizon for this investment is long after all. So I trust that eventually the price will catch up with the fundamentals, and that will pay dividends for me. But even if it doesn't, then that's a learning experience and a chance for me to tweak my framework or approach. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the mindset change I call my secret sauce. If it's still not clear why you need that, here's an example that might help. Let's say you spotted Solana when it was around $40 and you did your research and you liked it, but you're like, it's a little bit pricey right now. I'm gonna wait until it retests that $20 level first. Well, as luck would have it, it never hit that level again and it went on to surpass $200 at its all-time high instead. So you were right about its potential, but obsessing about the charts / getting in at the best price was what held you back. At $200, you probably don't care if you got in at $40 or $30. You just wish you got in because it would be massive gains regardless. Now, I am not saying that there's no role for chart trading and technical analysis, but you gotta be honest with yourself. If you wanna be a longer-term hodl type of investor, then you really shouldn't care about it that much. Anyways, I hope this video gave you some new knowledge that can help you grow and improve, or at the very least, some food for thought as to what you could do differently. In the meantime, check out this video that I made all about tokenomics if you want a deeper dive into that aspect of fundamentals. I'm Kevin from Coinsider, can't wait to see you in the next one, and cheers!